Hello, you guys. Welcome to my channel. My name is Crystal. If you guys are coming over from my other YouTube channel, my Law of Attraction channel, thank you so much for coming over to this channel and supporting me. This is a new channel for me, and it is something that I've been interested in that I think I'm just going to go for it because why not, manifestation and all. So, if you guys are not over here from my manifestation channel, hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Crystal. I am currently a senior in college. I'm about to graduate this upcoming May. Super excited about that. This is just going to be a drama commentary channel. I won't say it's like a drama channel just because I don't think that I'm gonna like do all of the extra stuff that drama channels do with like posting receipts and posting Snapchats and Instagram stories and whatever. I think I'm just gonna kind of comment on the things that I've seen. I'm not necessarily going to like go back and post the receipts and things. So this is just a fun channel that I wanted to start, that I'm going to like take a leap and just start it because why not? Better now than never. So you guys read the title. This is a response to Shane Dawson's series with Jeffree Star, the second series with Jeffree Star. Obviously he already did the first one well over a year ago. This is a response to the second series with Jeffree Star that Shane Dawson is doing about Shane Dawson and Jeffree Star going through and making this makeup palette and how this palette is made and everything in the beauty community that Jeffree Star has been through and all of those things. So I am going to be responding to both the first and the second part of Shane Dawson's series. So I wanted to do a response to the first video as well, but let me tell you guys, I didn't do a first video response just because like the first video was very boring. Excuse me. I was not like super entertained at the first video, so I didn't really feel like making a commentary video about it just because to me I don't think I would have had a lot to say because I was pretty bored throughout the majority of the first video. Not to say that like Shane Dawson is boring per se, but everything that he put in like the first 45 minutes of his hour-long video for episode 1 was really boring to me. Like I don't know. It was just like a lot of extra stuff thrown in there just for him to like go with Jeffree to this Morphe store opening. It was just a lot of unnecessary stuff, like Shane Dawson talking about why he's afraid to fly, and Shane Dawson and Rylan talking about how the fact that Rylan like can't go with Shane Dawson to this Morphe opening, and I just wasn't like super entertained. There wasn't anything in the first episode where I was like, ooh, tea, like I never knew that before. That's super interesting. Never heard that before. Like it wasn't anything really attention grabbing for the majority of the first episode. I did enjoy the part of the episode where they were actually at the Morphe location, meeting the Morphe store employees and taking pictures with all these Morphe people who wanted to take a picture with Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson and all the people in the mall who came out to see him. I mean, they brought in a huge crowd, you guys, like huge crowd. And this particular mall that they went to, that they opened a Morphe store at. So I did think that was interesting. But that's not necessarily abnormal either. Like, I've known that Jeffree Star can do those things for a while. Like, we've seen Jeffree Star going to Morphe store openings and pulling huge crowds. That's nothing necessarily new to us or, like, behind the scenes type thing. You know what I mean? So, that's why I didn't make a response video about episode 1. But I am going to make a response video about episode 2. So you guys, episode 2 was so much more entertaining. Like, can we talk? Oh my gosh, it had a lot of like interesting tea spilling parts where I was like, oh my gosh, like that's for real. He titled this one The Secrets of the Beauty World, and I think that was a really good title because in this one he like does delve into a lot of like the behind the scenes type stuff that like people who are not in the beauty community, they don't know these things. And that's super interesting to me. Just like that, I found this video way more interesting because they were actually talking about the palette and how to make the palette and the shades and the palettes and the lipstick colors that they wanted to do in this collection and how they were going to name the shades and how they were going to name the lipsticks and like, you know what I'm saying? And there was a lot of like business meetings with Jeffree Star's team and like Jeffree Star's lawyers and how, you know, the contracts were going to work. And I thought that was like super interesting because like I personally haven't seen anything like this. Like, it is not common, like, knowledge for people to put it out there what people make in, like, collaborations and things with, like, makeup brands. Like, it is not common knowledge that you're supposed to make 20% on collaborations, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's something that nobody who, like, is not in the beauty community or in the beauty business is not going to know that, like, if you do a collaboration with a brand, you should get 20%-ish, you know what I mean? Or, you know, you're supposed to get residuals rather than getting a flat fee. Like, you don't know these types of things, and I thought that was really interesting, and I appreciate the fact that Shane is very, very real. He was like, look, we're going to film everything. Like, we're not going to not have the cameras on for anything. You know what I'm saying? And I appreciate that. Like, Jeffree Star in the video and went through, like, the fact that Jeffree Star texted Shane Dawson. He was like, are you sure you want to record this meeting with our team today, like our first meeting about the palette? And Shane Dawson was like, of course I want to record this. Like, we're recording this meeting about our palette because we want to take them through the entire process of making beauty products and how they get made from very start to very finish. So he was like, yes, we're going to record this first video. And I thought that was really amazing. I do think, though, that Shane Dawson made a comment in the video when they were discussing the, like, money portion of it, like how much money Shane is going to get and how much money Jeffree is going to get and how much the team is going to get and, like, the cost of the products. When they were talking about the money aspect of it, Shane Dawson made a comment to Jeffree, and he was like, you look nervous, like, because Jeffree was like, oh, are you sure you want to keep the cameras rolling while we discuss, like, the money portion? And Shane Dawson was like, yeah, of course we're keeping the cameras running. And then he made a comment, I guess, off of Jeffree Star's facial expression. He was like, you look nervous. And I agree, he did look nervous, which I was very surprised because Jeffree does not get very nervous, but I think that Jeffree Star knows that these things are, like, not common knowledge, like, they're not discussed and they're not known to the vast majority of people. So I think he was a little bit uncomfortable talking about these things on camera because this is information that not a lot of people know of, and I think he was having a little bit of anxiety about discussing these things, like, on camera and revealing these things to the world because it is very secretive. Like, that's the interesting thing about the beauty community is it is really secretive. And I think Jeffree Star knows that, and he, you know, I don't know that he necessarily wants to keep it secretive, but he definitely knows that, like, it's not normal for people who are not in the beauty community to know this information. So I do think that he was nervous about talking about the money side of it. And I think also they had an entire conversation about the cost of production and, like, how much it would cost to produce the palette, and then how much they would sell the palette for, and then how much commission each person or team would make. You know what I mean? So they were going through and they were talking about, well, do we want to sell it internationally or do we just want to sell it to the US and Morphe stores and open it up that way? And I think it was really interesting because Jeffree Star went through and he was like, okay, so after everything with all of the ingredients and all of the team members that it takes to get the packaging done and to get the color schemes done and to get the work done for the palette, after everything is said and done, one palette costs $20 to make. To make the palette, it costs $20. So everything from the ingredients to paying the employees to packaging, all of those things, everything from start to finish for the creation of the palette costed $20. Now, this was in reference to his blood sugar palette, which his blood sugar palette is being sold for $52. And I don't necessarily, like, disagree, because Jeffree Star went through like this whole thing about how like his investors and the people that he, invest money in him and his brand were telling him that he needed to be selling these pallets for more than he's selling them for. And he was talking about how he, didn't want to sell them for more. He didn't want to price gouge people. He wasn't in it for like the profit, if that makes sense. And I can understand that, but it also, maybe I'm just like an outsider. I'm not in the beauty community. I think it's interesting that if the palette itself costs $20 to make, and he charges $52, that means he's making roughly a 250% markup, right? But then he went through and he said, there are brands that mark their makeup up upwards of 700%. So the cost of production of whatever item some brands make, whether it's a palette, a concealer, a foundation, the cost of production could be $6, and they go and they sell it for $45. These people are selling these products for upward of 700%, and I just thought that was like really interesting. And as someone who is an outsider, I'm wondering, how exactly can you tell these things? You know what I mean? How exactly can you tell which brands are price gouging you and which brands are not? You know what I mean? Because when you're shopping for makeup, let's talk about the fact that makeup is expensive, and that's why makeup is a billion-dollar business, because it is really expensive and people do spend a lot of money on it for whatever reason. I mean, hey, e.l.f. products work just fine for me. I'm not someone who's out here, buying every new Kylie Jenner and Kim Kardashian makeup line. You know what I mean? But for some people, it's like makeup, they will spend hundreds, they will spend their entire checks on makeup. I can't personally understand that, but some people do it. That's why makeup is a billion-dollar industry. And I'm just wondering, as a consumer, you know what I mean? How do you know when you are being taken advantage of? You know what I'm saying? How do you know when you are getting products for a fair price, or if you're getting products that are like really, really, really overcharging you? And then in correspondence to that, how do you know which brands are using really good, solid ingredients and which brands are skimping on their ingredients? You know what I mean? And which brands are using like the not as safe and not as friendly ingredients? You know what I mean? And I mean, I guess that there's ways to tell that, and I'm probably just not necessarily educated about beauty well enough to know which ingredients, because they do list the ingredients for most makeup products. They'll list like the ingredients of whatever on the actual makeup product itself, and I'm not someone who like knows enough about labels and things like that to know what each product label means, if that makes sense. And I'm wondering, if you're an everyday consumer like myself and you don't necessarily know how to read the ingredients on packaging, how do you know if you're getting a good quality product versus a product that was cheap and put together for $3 and it's being sold for $65? You know what I mean? So I thought that was very, very interesting. And it's also very interesting that these things have not been talked about before. Like, I've never heard that, makeup brands mark things upward of 700%. Like, that's a little ridiculous. That's a little extreme, if you ask me. I mean, that's a brand that's like really, really in it for the money. And I think that that's, again, just a little extreme, a little bit strange. I did find it interesting, though, when they were talking about money. I don't know why, like, I'm focusing on the money aspect of this video. The entire video was really good. I enjoyed them going through like everything, but I think the money portion of it was the most interesting to me. And Jeffree Star made a comment to Shane, and he was like, if this palette sells well, you could make like $5 million off of this palette. And Shane's jaw like dropped. Like, Shane Dawson was like, what? $5 million? He's like, I know a lot of YouTubers who like see that kind of money in their bank account, but like, I've never seen that kind of money in my bank account before. And I think that was interesting, because you assume with such a large following, like Shane Dawson has a huge following, like 22.4 million followers or something like that. You would assume that he has at least a couple million sitting in his bank account. You know what I mean? Like, you would assume that he makes like a good living, with all the followers that he has. And he made this comment like, no, I don't even make that much, and there's not that much sitting in my bank account. And I thought that that was very interesting, because you know that there are YouTubers out there who do make that much, who have less of a following than him. So I thought that that was interesting. I keep saying that. But the other thing that I thought was interesting as well was Shane Dawson getting emotional when Jeffree Star, again, when they were talking about the money portion of it, and they were talking about the splits, and how much, you know, if Shane and Jeffree Star's company did Shane's merch, how much money Shane would make off of his merch. And so one of the business guys on Jeffree's team, like, made a comment, and he was like, oh yeah, we would do like a 70-30 split. And Shane goes, oh, like, you guys would get 70 and I would get 30. And the guy goes, no, you would get 70 and we would get 30. And, like, Shane literally had like an emotional breakdown. Like, he went in the bathroom and he was like crying, and he was like, I'm having an emotional breakdown right now, because he didn't explicitly say it, but like, you get the idea that he had merch. Obviously he still has merch, but you get the idea that like he was taken advantage of some kind of way in terms of merch. Like, some kind of deal that was offered to him was way lower than 70%, and like, they were talking about like, oh, you could sell this hoodie for like $30 and you would get like $18. And he was like, wait, $18 off the hoodie? And they were like, yeah, you would get like $18. And he was like, off of one hoodie? Like, he was really, really shocked about like the numbers of what he would get for one piece of merch that was sold. And I thought, like, that really made me sad as well too, because like, Shane is such a good person, and for brands to like take advantage of him, like, it makes me feel like it makes me feel some type of way, you guys, because Shane is so kind and so sweet, and like, he takes what he gets, you know what I'm saying? I don't think that he necessarily, like Jeffree Star said, Jeffree Star told him like, you were naive. Like, you know what I'm saying? Not that like you're stupid, but you were naive. You didn't know that you should be getting 70% of the profits for your merch. And I can't, he didn't say the exact number of like what profit he makes off of his merch, but you get the idea that it's like not nearly 70%. Like, you get the idea that he's probably making somewhere around 20 or 30% off of his merch, rather than the 70% that Jeffree Star's team said that Shane should be making off of his merch. And that kind of makes me really feel some type of way, you know what I'm saying? Because that could be potentially thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars that Shane lost simply because he was naive and he signed a, you know, contract that wasn't in his best benefit, and he didn't know that he could be making the type of money that he should be making, if that makes sense. Like, I thought that was really sad. And then, you know, when you think about it, it's like, how many influencers out there are like Shane? How many influencers out there are doing merch and they don't know how much money they should be making off of their merch, and they go and they sign a contract for 15 or 20% of the profits or whatever, and they're hardly making anything off of their own merch, when the merch is them, the merch is their face, and that's the reason that it's selling, is because it's them, and they're hardly making anything off of it. And there's probably thousands of influencers like that, you know what I mean? And that's sad that these companies would take advantage of these people's naivety and, you know, take potentially thousands of dollars away from these people that these people deserve to have earned. You know what I'm saying? These influencers deserve the money that they earned. And people are buying these merch because they like the influencer, not because, you know, they want the company that the influencer worked with to make all the money. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And I think that's why I think that this video and this series is going to be very good and very educational, because I think once you start like pulling back the curtain of like what really happens behind the scenes, things start getting really ugly, really painful, really, you know, you start looking at things like a whole different way. And I think that's going to continue to happen. I do think that throughout this entire Shane series, he's going to continue to pull back curtain after curtain after curtain, and you're going to continue to be like, wow, I had no idea. Wow, that's so interesting. Like, you're going to continue to find things out that you just would never have imagined. You know what I mean? And I think that that's the beauty in this particular series that Shane is doing, because I think that if people watch this series, they'll probably be less likely to be taken advantage of. You know what I'm saying? If there are any influencers out there, which you know that there are hella influencers out there who are watching the Shane Dawson series, if there are any influencers out there watching the Shane Dawson series, they will now know, well, what percentage should I be getting off of merch that I sell? You know what I mean? They will now know, rather than signing a contract for 20% of the profits, they should be getting 70, at least 60% of the profit. You know what I mean? And I think that's the beauty of this series. And I think that's really good that he's letting us have an inside look and letting people like know that they shouldn't be taken advantage of in these ways. Like, Jeffree Star went through and he talked about Nikki Tutorials and how she signed a contract with Too Faced for the palette that she released, and they gave her a flat $50,000, and they went on to sell millions, upwards of $10 million on this one palette for her. And that's, he calculated it out. The guy on Jeffree's business team calculated it out. She earned 0.005% of the money that palette made. Like, that's such a small number, and I feel so bad because, like, these people are really taking advantage of people, and it's not right, you know what I mean? And it's so sad that there's so many businesses out there that are willing to take advantage of people's naivety, and it's like, without something like a Shane Dawson series, how would you know that you're being taken advantage of? You know what I mean? Unless you're someone who's going to go and hire the lawyers and, you know, have the lawyers read through your contracts and be in negotiations with you. You're really not going to know if you're being taken advantage of or not. And I just think that that's really sad. Really, really sad. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that Shane Dawson is making this series, and he's pulling back these curtains, and he's making it easier for people to, you know what they deserve and what they work for and how much they should be making off of things. So yeah, that's my thoughts on episodes 1 and 2 of Shane Dawson's series. I will make another a video responding to Shane Dawson's following videos as well. It's supposed to be a 9-part series. So because he released the first one on Tuesday and then the second one on Friday, I'm going to assume that he is going to release 2 videos a week. So I will be making responses to each one of the videos that Shane Dawson releases. So you guys should be getting 2 videos a week from me as well. Thank you guys for coming to my channel, for sticking around for viewing. And I hope to see you guys again next week. Thank you so much. Bye.